Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take complex research and expert field notes and turn them into knowledge you can actually use. Today, we're putting on our investigative caps and plunging right into the intricate and often silent world of your home's plumbing.
That's right. Our mission today is really to give you a shortcut, to help you understand what your home is actually trying to tell you. We're basically translating the hidden language of every drip, every gurgle, every strange smell, turning those little annoyances into real diagnostic insights.
And we're backed by some incredibly specific sources for this one. We're relying on detailed findings from a major home services provider in the Sacramento area. So we're drawing on their expertise developed over more than 4 decades. I mean, dating all the way back to 1981.
That's huge.
So this isn't just general theory. This is 40 years of knowing exactly how, local soil, local tree roots, and local infrastructure fail.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is that every professional plumber will tell you the same thing. Your plumbing system is a really sophisticated warning mechanism. The core takeaway from all this material is that the small signs you sort of dismiss today, those are the direct precursors to costly, catastrophic emergencies tomorrow.
Okay, so let's start right there with the immediate alerts. If you're listening, what are the, say, 4 alarms that should make you put down your coffee and go investigate?
Number 1, and this is probably the most common sign of a serious drainage issue, slow draining sinks or, standing water that just takes forever to go away. Number 2, any gurgling or bubbling sounds coming from a drain when another fixture is being used, that sound is air being pushed back through your system by a deep blockage.
So the air is literally fighting the blockage just to escape.
Precisely. 3, persistent foul odors from drains, or even worse, sewage smells around your property outside. And 4, frequent recurring clogs. If the same sink or toilet blocks up every few months, you don't just have a temporary hairball, you have a systemic issue.
Before we jump to the main sewer line disaster, which I think is everyone's biggest fear, what are the most common culprits that start these blockages inside the house?
Well, the majority of clogs start pretty mundanely. I mean, inside bathroom drains, it's usually hair mixed with soap scum. In kitchen drains, it's grease and food particles. Over time, that debris just solidifies and sticks to the pipe walls. The danger is that a homeowner might clear the visible clog at the top.
Right, the stuff you can see.
But they leave the hardened sludge that's lining the pipes, which then just catches more debris and the whole cycle repeats itself.
But you mentioned that these common issues can mask something much worse.
Oh, yes. If these surface issues keep happening, especially the gurgling and the foul odors, that's a huge red flag that the problem isn't in your sink trap. It's maybe 10, 20 feet down the line. And that's where you run into major sewer line problems like extensive tree root intrusion, a massive headache in older neighborhoods, or even a collapsed section of pipe.
That brings us right into what you call the clog crisis. So let's talk about the first instinct for so many homeowners, the store-bought chemical drain cleaner. Why do the pros actively warn against this?
Because they're corrosive. I mean, these chemicals, they use intense heat and chemical reactions to melt organic material. But they don't just stop at the clog. Over time, especially if you use them repeatedly, they weaken the material of the pipes themselves, whether that's old cast iron or even PVC.
So they just make the pipes brittle.
Exactly, leading to leaks or a total collapse down the road. Plus, they're hazardous to handle and just terrible for the environment.
Okay, so we toss the corrosive chemicals. What are the modern professional solutions that actually clean the pipe for the long term?
Well, we contrast those chemicals with mechanical and hydraulic methods. For tough, isolated clogs, a pro will use a commercial-grade auger or a snake. But for that system-wide buildup of grease and sludge, the gold standard is hydrojetting.
So basically pressure washing the inside of your sewer line.
Precisely. It uses incredibly high-pressure water jets. We're talking powerful enough to cut through hardened scale to literally scour the inside of the pipes clean. This removes years of built-up debris that an auger, it just pokes a hole through. This is a much, much longer-lasting solution.
That sounds extremely effective, but it does raise a critical question. Doesn't using that kind of intense pressure risk damaging old brittle pipes, like clay or maybe cracked PVC?
That's a great question, and it's exactly why diagnostic prep is key. Hydrojetting should never, ever be performed blindly. Before applying that kind of pressure, the professional first has to perform a sewer line camera inspection. This isn't just about finding the clog, it's about checking the pipe's structural integrity.
Okay, let's talk about that camera inspection. It seems like the crucial first step for any deep problem. How does this high-tech sleuthing actually work?
It's completely non-invasive and it just eliminates all the guesswork. They send a high-definition waterproof camera, usually on a flexible cable with its own lights, right down into the sewer line. And this gives them a real-time video view of the pipe's interior.
So instead of digging up my yard, based on a rough guess, they can see exactly what they're dealing with.
Yes, they can pinpoint the exact location and the nature of the issue, whether it's root balls, severe corrosion, a separated joint, or a full collapse. The camera system often gives them depth and distance measurements, so the pro can identify the trouble spot down to the foot. No more costly, unnecessary digging.
That precision is really a game changer. I mean, historically, if the camera showed a collapsed pipe, you were looking at a major demolition project, torn up lawns, driveways, weeks of work.
Right.
But now we have the trenchless revolution. So how does modern technology save your yard?
Trenchless sewer repair is one of the biggest advancements in home maintenance, period. It offers minimal disruption and maximum efficiency. Most of these repairs are done in just 1 or 2 days.
Couple of days.
Compared to a week or more for traditional digging. And the result is incredibly durable, often warranted to last 50 years.
So how exactly do they repair a pipe that's, say, 8 feet underground without major excavation?
Well, there are 2 main methods detailed in the sources, and they're used for different problems. The first is called pipelining, or CIPP. This is used when the existing pipe is cracked, but it's, mostly still intact. They insert a flexible, epoxy-saturated liner through a single access point.
Okay.
That liner is then inflated against the walls of the old pipe and allowed to cure or harden right in place.
So the old damaged pipe basically becomes a shell for a new seamless pipe inside of it.
Exactly. It's fantastic for sealing cracks and resisting future root intrusion because it removes all those old joints and weak spots. The second method, pipe bursting, is for when the old pipe is completely collapsed or needs a full replacement.
And how does pipe bursting work?
They pull a brand new pipe, usually a high-density polyethylene, right through the old one. There's a conical bursting head on the front of the new pipe. As it's pulled through, this head just fractures the old, damaged pipe apart into the soil, installing the new line at the same time.
That's amazing. So if I have small cracks, I line it. If I have a total failure, I burst it and replace it. That's a huge leap in efficiency.
It really is. It moves us from reactive demolition to strategic surgical repair.
All right, let's move away from the mainline disasters and focus on something that plagues every home: the leak. We often ignore a slow drip, but you stress that it's a bigger problem than we realize.
It is, because the accumulation is just staggering. A single dripping faucet, often caused by a simple worn washer or seal, doesn't just annoy you. It wastes hundreds, sometimes thousands of gallons of water per year.
Wow. Can you put that into perspective? What does that really mean for a monthly bill?
Well, depending on the drip, those thousands of gallons could add 10, even 20% to your monthly water bill. And that's pure waste. Repairing a $5 cartridge can literally save you hundreds over the year.
But the really insidious leaks are the ones we can't see, the ones hidden in walls or under the foundation. What are the key indicators of those invisible leaks?
The first signals often have nothing to do with plumbing. First, an unexpectedly high water bill you can't account for. Second, damp spots or discoloration on walls or ceilings. Third, you might hear this phantom sound of running water even when all your taps are off. And finally, new, unexplained mold or mildew.
Okay, so if we see those signs, how do professionals locate that hidden leak without just smashing open every wall in the house? They can't send a camera everywhere.
Right, and this is where you see some true surgical detection at work. Professionals rely on 2 main non-invasive technologies. The first is thermal imaging. Water creates a temperature anomaly, so thermal cameras can detect these precise temperature differences caused by hidden moisture.
So they're basically looking for cold spots in a warm wall. What's the second tool?
Acoustic technology. This involves using highly sensitive listening equipment, almost like a stethoscope, to amplify the subtle sound of dripping or rushing water inside the structure.
That is next level. How accurate is that? Can it really distinguish between a tiny drip, and, say, a dishwasher running nearby.
Oh, absolutely. The technology is sophisticated enough to isolate the specific frequency of a pressurized leak versus standard drainage noise. It allows a technician to zero in on a leak under a concrete slab.
A slab leak.
Right, a slab leak. And finding that means they only have to chip through the concrete in that one exact spot.
Let's talk about fixtures. Low water pressure or those sudden jarring temperature changes in the shower. What's the diagnostic there?
That typically points right to an issue with the shower valve itself. It could be corrosion or, more commonly, a faulty internal cartridge that regulates the hot and cold water mix.
And when do simple repairs stop making sense? When does replacement become the better option?
When you have recurring leaks, persistently low water pressure, or you can see corrosion all over the home, it often means the whole system is just nearing the end of its life. In those cases, the professional recommendation is often a whole home repiping. Replacing the old failing pipes with modern materials like new copper or PEX, it's a major upgrade that lasts for decades.
Let's shift gears now to urgent safety and comfort systems, starting with the workhorse of the home, the water heater. What are the key symptoms that your water heater is failing?
1, the obvious one, no hot water, or the water runs cold way too quickly.
Huh.
2, rusty or discolored water coming from the hot side only. 3, leaks or pooling around the base of the unit. And 4, unusual noises, specifically popping or rumbling sounds coming from the tank.
That popping noise is something a lot of people ignore. Why does the water heater sound like it's trying to boil rocks?
What's so fascinating is that rumbling sound is caused by water boiling underneath a thick layer of mineral sediment at the bottom of the tank. The heating element heats the sediment first, which causes the water trapped underneath it to boil violently. One technician in the sources described it like trying to cook oatmeal in a pan that hasn't been stirred in a year.
That's a great visual, and it signals massive inefficiency, right?
Exactly. The unit is working harder, using more energy, and shortening its own lifespan. The solution can be flushing the unit, repairing it, or upgrading to an energy-efficient tankless water heater.
Now we have to talk about something that isn't an annoyance, but a serious hazard. Gas piping safety. If someone suspects a gas leak, what are the unmistakable signs?
This is absolutely non-negotiable safety. The 3 signs are, first, that distinct pungent smell of sulfur or rotten eggs. It's an additive designed to warn you. Second, a steady hissing sound near an appliance or gas line. And third, unexplained health symptoms like dizziness, fatigue, or nausea, especially when you're indoors.
And if those signs are present, what is the immediate non-negotiable protocol?
The first rule is get out. Evacuate the area immediately. Don't use your phone inside. And critically, do not touch any electrical switches.
Any spark could be catastrophic.
Any spark. Once you are safely outside, call your gas utility company first. They can shut off the gas. Only then do you call the licensed professionals for the emergency repair.
And the sources are crystal clear on this. Gas piping work is never a DIY project.
Absolutely not. It has to be handled by licensed, certified professionals to ensure safety and comply with all codes. It's a risk no one should ever take.
That really puts a fine point on this whole discussion. The value of professional expertise.
Yeah.
So based on everything we've talked about, the high-tech diagnosis, the trenchless repairs, what should listeners look for in a service provider?
I'd say you need a provider built on experience and transparency. Look for licensed, bonded, insured, and background check plumbers. That 40-plus years of local experience we talked about, that's invaluable. You also need availability. Same-day service and 24/7 emergency response are non-negotiable when a pipe bursts in the middle of the night.
And financially, what should the expectation be for pricing clarity?
Clarity is everything. The best providers offer honest, upfront pricing with no hidden fees and free estimates. And given the cost of major repairs, flexible financing options are a huge factor in letting you manage the repair immediately instead of waiting for disaster.
You know, I found the customer anecdotes in the sources particularly compelling. They really reinforce that professionalism isn't just about fixing the pipe, it's about integrity.
Yes. We saw reviews praising technicians for being polite and taking the time to explain the work, even showing pictures or video of the damage before they started. We also saw examples of just tremendous integrity technicians advising customers against unnecessary services that other companies had recommended.
And it was that one incredible example of expertise going way beyond the scope of the job.
Right. During what was supposed to be a routine plumbing check, a technician identified a cracked furnace exchange that could leak carbon monoxide.
Wow.
He didn't have to check the HVAC system, but his training and commitment to home safety meant he flagged a life-threatening hazard. That is the true value of trust and experience.
That knowledge and transparency are just fundamental. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's quickly summarize the two biggest takeaways.
I think it's the evolution of the field. We've moved from disruptive guessing games to these non-invasive surgical tools cameras, thermal imaging, acoustic detection, and the solutions themselves are now so much more efficient and long-lasting. Hydrojetting for maintenance, trenchless repair for structural issues. It all starts with recognizing those subtle warning signs, the gurgles, the smells, the drips, and the pops.
And here's the final provocative thought for you to explore. Now that you know the language of your plumbing, consider this. When does the constant high-maintenance cost of an old system outweigh the long-term efficiency and peace of mind from a modern upgrade?
Right. We often think of pipe repair as just a sunk cost, but the sources challenge us to view modern upgrades like PEX, copper, or tankless water heaters as an investment in your home's longevity. At what point does the true cost saver shift from repair to replacement?